as you have been at the helm of a boat, you're a top captain or a vessel?
Yes, before reaching that rank. The difference is the schooling and the kind of vessel, because there are many types of vessels. You have container vessels, you have liquefied vessels that carry liquid product like oil, gas and all. Then you have passengers boat, you have cargo carriers that carries cargoes in quantities.
Okay, we also have with us this evening is Officier Tadjuta Jean Rigaud. Officier Tadjuta Jean Rigaud, we are glad to have you with us for the first time on Prime App. But also, Officier, what do you do?
Je suis tout d'abord l'officier Tadjuta Jean Rigaud, vice-coordinateur national du Conseil maritime et technique du Haut Commissariat d'intervention générale.
Ok.
Et en second lieu, je suis coordinateur chargé des affaires juridiques et contentieux du Conseil maritime de la société civile camerounaise.
Ok.
Là, quand je parle du Conseil maritime de la société civile, je dois tout d'abord commencer par vous présenter cette organisation. Et dans un premier temps,
avant ça, vous êtes officier. Officier en quoi?
Je suis un officier humanitaire.
Okay.
Quand on parle du Haut Commissariat d'intervention générale, c'est une organisation humanitaire. Donc, c'est la défense des droits et des libertés fondamentales de l'homme. Bon, et nous intervenons dans le domaine à travers le Conseil maritime et technique du Haut Commissariat d'intervention générale.
Okay. Also with us is Mr. Ayon Henry, a non-tie chef du département oil et gas. Yes, we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Leonard.
Yes, and what do you do, Chief of the Oil and Gas Department? What is that role?
To oversee the operations when gas, oil and gas is operation.
In the sea,
So,
the high sea?
Yeah, when the whole operation is being carried out by government. And we have stock shareholders and we have the stakeholders. They come together as a project. And that is why Kamasi Sub has a part to play. When these operations is really taking place, my role is to make sure that the contract, the agreements, and also what covers the operation is being respected. And I oversee the workers and the crews that have to carry on the task and to make sure that the tasks, the work, and the operations run smoothly. And we also have to oversee that within these operations, a job is not well done until completion.
So where does it start and where does it end?
It starts from when we sign the contract. And then it depends on what we are going to do, if it is drilling or exploration.
Of the gas and the oil, yeah.
When the exploration is going on, Cameroonians are taken into consideration first to be there to do the job. And so Kamasi Sub is handling that.
Okay, it's handling that. Let's get to understanding what this is all about. I don't know who takes the first question, but I want our televiewers to understand who a seafarer is. Who is a seafarer?
Seafarer, thank you once more, Mr. Leonard. A seafarer is an international civil servant. Why do we describe them like that? They are called upon to sail around the world. And to do so, actually, presently, it entails a lot. like the captainship you were talking of. You don't just get up and become one. You start from a level, from the lowest level, ordinary seaman to AB sailor to bosun, and you grow. But some people might leave the university with their degrees in sciences or the advanced level in sciences and go to a maritime academy or to a university and come out directly as officers. There are stages you have to go through before you get to the highest level.
But okay, but I was made to understand that seafarers cut across many domains. Everybody who works in the sea, there could be officers, there could be captains, there could be just...
Yes, that's the great I'm giving you. You have ordinary seaman who is a subordinate, who is at the first stage when he leaves school with his basical. The basical are what? Firefighting, safety at sea, first aid, social responsibility, ISP escort. Those are basicals. He work on the deck. Others, like the oilers, they work in the engine. Others are stewards, others are cook. Everybody has his specialty.
So they all constitute what we call seafarers.
Yes, they all constitute. Today, during the past years, those who were working like they in the oil and gas field, they were not enrolled as seafarers because they had no obligation to fulfill the conditions that seafarers fulfill before going for in their oil field at sea as well as on the land, because the oil field is at sea and land. But with the seafarers, they had the obligation. There is a process you must go through. Like in Cameroon, my country, formally, you must start from the fishing sector.
Okay.
Because no matter how you are genuine in the field, if you did not start from the fishing sector and you even grow at a given time, you always have difficulties because you never started from the basis. Okay,
the basic. Now, you have, is it a trade union, an organization that is bringing all Cameroonian seafarers together? It's Kamiscope.
Oui. Yeah. In English, it's Kamasisop.
Kamasisop. Yes. How can we understand what this is all about?
Quand nous parlons de Komasosik, nous devons d'abord entrer 5 ans en arrière aujourd'hui, où en 2015, tous les acteurs du secteur maritime ont mis sur pied une structure dénommée CODRA, la coordination des associations et syndicats maritimes. Et cette coordination avait en sa tête M. Wa Marcel de l'association RMMRL. Aujourd'hui, 5 ans après, nous sommes donc en 2020, où le congrès extraordinaire de cette coordination a eu lieu le 23 juin 2020. Il a donc analysé et élaboré un bilan d'éjection de management et d'administration et d'éjection. De ce bilan, il en ressort des actions qui sont médiocres et très négatives. Alors, ils ont donc procédé aux amendements statutaires. Dans un premier temps, il fallait donc mettre sur pied quelque chose de plus convaincant. Alors, c'est là où ils ont décidé de penser à un rassemblement de tous les acteurs du secteur, y compris ceux qui n'étaient pas de la coordination des associations et syndicats maritimes. Alors, c'est là où ils ont fait appel à toutes les organisations maritimes, des syndicats, des coopératives, des ONG, et puis tous autour d'une table se sont réunis. Lorsqu'ils ont déjà réussi à réunir tous ces acteurs, ils ont donc pensé déjà à donner un nouveau nom à l'organisation. Comment nous devons tous faire pour pouvoir mettre sur pied, travailler en synergie pour que notre pays sorte de tous ces problèmes qui émanent de ces domaines.
Yeah, but what are these other the different domains that come together to form this trade union? Les différents composants qui fait votre structure.
Oui, là, tous les membres sont des personnes morales, ça veut dire des associations.
Oui, les associations de quoi et quoi?
Du secteur maritime, qui tous interviennent dans le secteur maritime.
Comme quoi? Qui exerce dans quoi et quoi?
Que ce soit dans le domaine portuaire, dans le domaine oil and gas, dans le domaine de la pêche, ainsi de suite. Toutes ces organisations ont donc décidé de se regrouper et de travailler en synergie.
Ok, donc ça marche bien.
Non, actuellement, c'est pour cela que nous sommes ici pour présenter ces structures qui, aujourd'hui, veulent tout faire pour que notre pays sorte de la liste noire.
Okay. Now, when we talk about oil and gas industry in Cameroon today, Mr. Ayon Henry, what are we talking about? Oil and gas. We are talking about seafarers, and we are talking of oil and gas. Must it be in the sea?
Actually, in Cameroon here, all those working offshore, including the fishing and the navigation, all of them are called les gens de mer. So we are working offshore oil and gas. Oil and gas, we all know that it comes from crude oil. And crude oil is being extracted from the ground. And when it is extracted, gas is produced. It is broken up in 3 segments.
Okay.
We have the upstream, we have the downstream, and the midstream. What is upstream? Upstream is the drilling, exploration, and production. And then downstream is the movement of personnel, and then refinery and transportation. And then we also have the midstream, which is logistic and other means of carrying the oil to tankers, pipeline, and also reservoirs. So when this process is all joined together, we have the oil and gas industry in operation.
Yeah, how does it operate in Cameroon? Midstream, where is midstream in Cameroon? I want televiewers to understand. Where is the exploration, the drilling done? Where do we see the midstream and all of that?
Midstream is when the crude oil is ready, it is transported. So transportation of the crude oil to the pipeline and to the storage. These are the midstream.
The drilling.
The drilling is the upstream. Drilling, it starts from exploration, drilling, and then production. That is the upstream.
Somebody who may be watching us now from Mundemba, Ekondotiti, and somebody may be watching us from Kambe, he would really want to understand all of what you have cited is theory. Practically, can you describe to them how it operates in Cameroon? That the drilling is done, say, around Bakassi, it is transported to so location, and then it is brought to Limbe for refining. How is the process?
Actually, Kamasisob is concerned with the workers.
Okay.
They do the drilling.
Okay, the workers who are engaged.
They do the drilling. These are Cameroonians that are called upon from time to time to carry on the exploration. And when they go to the field, it's because the projects are there. When this project is over, they are abandoned. So we in Kamasisob, we do the drilling, and the drilling is before the production. So these are the actors.
Okay, somebody who is watching us, Fading on the 4, he's watching us from Douala. He says he has a question. I'm sure you answer it. Oh, you can take it. It says some years back, some seafarers camped 24 as 7 days for about 3 years, at the government bilingual primary school, Bipanda. What were the grievances and what has changed?
Good question. You know, as I rightly said, to be a seafarer, the legislator in the world has validated and put a process. It's not just a question of submitting your file and obtaining a seaman card. Once you obtain that seaman card, the first obligation is you have to navigate for at least 180 days. That's 6 months. You bring your pay slips to make proof at local level.
Okay.
Then, if you have ambitions to work out of the country, there are basic certificates you must go for the training. And up to now, we don't yet have schools that deliver those certificates. That's why most Cameroonians, they do go to Ghana, the Francophone, some go to Ivory Coast. Those who have their money, they go to Alexandria in Egypt, Casablanca, or South Africa. So, you must have that regular process. Recycling. Example, myself today, I cannot board a vessel.
Right.
I have to go back to school and update myself because I've been for more than 3-4 years without going to sea. Nobody will confine you a vessel.
Is that why some seafarers had a problem 3 years ago?
No, they had a problem which we do not even want to talk about because it's left to know whether they were seafarers.
Okay.
Yes.
But they were working at sea. Is it the fact that they were not
I don't
recognized?
think, to my knowledge, they were not working.
Okay.
They were not working.
What was happening? They went to school and claimed that they were seafarers?
They had a training organized in Cameroon by somebody.
Okay.
Whose name I don't need to call.
See.
And after they were given certificates that were not recognized by our maritime authority.
Yeah.
Because it was delivered from an institution that was not recognized by the International Maritime Organization. They did not go through the right process. And those certificates and licenses for officers, for the ratings, that's the subordinate, their certificates, STCW 2010 nowadays, standard training certification of watchkeeping. For the officers, you must have third officer's license, second officer's license, captain's license. And all these are subject to renewal. Once you fail in renewing, you cannot be embarked. Even the basic certificates, after 5 years, you must go for renewal. That's the one of the difficulty in our profession, because the training courses, they cost a lot of money. And one of the objectives, aims and objectives of Cameroon Maritime Civil Society Board, it's to bring the attention of our government to be able to organize the basic trainings in here, because we have the capacity, the potentials.
We are going to come. We are going to come to that. But when we talk about the pêche industrielle et artisanale, that is fish and industrial fishing, what do we talk about? What do we mean?
When we talk of pêche industrielle and pêche artisanale, they are two different things.
Okay.
Industrial fishing are those vessels that can go fishing for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months.
Okay.
Or even more.
They stay there.
Yeah,
They see.
and when they are coming back, the products are already packaged in the cartons. They only deliver the finished goods. But some industrial fishing vessels, they still use the local way. They use ice blocks, and when they come, they disembark. When we talk of pêche artisanal, it's local fishing, where people go at sea with their canoes and their paddles, some with their engine boats, some just with paddles and the fish, and they bring back the products and they dispose in the market for the locals to consume.
Okay. Now, the issue of the seafarers who had a problem here in Douala, he's raising the issue of the recognition of their certificate. Is that not a core problem? Not many persons who would like to engage in the seafaring industry? Is that not the core problem they are facing in Cameroon now?
Please, can you speak in French? So,
Donc,
Non, il y a quelqu'un qui a demandé qu'il y a 3 ans, il y a eu des seafarers qui avaient des problèmes ici au Cameroun. Et j'ai demandé ce qui n'allait pas. Il a dit que ça avait à faire avec, c'est pas, reconnaître les diplômes. Est-ce que ce n'est pas ça un problème véritable ici au Cameroun aujourd'hui?
Vous savez, dans un premier temps, sur le domaine maritime chez nous, franchement, il est très compliqué. Et il y a beaucoup d'organisations qui ne sont pas reconnues et qui ont passé leur temps à recruter beaucoup de gens ici dehors et ils les forment, ils les attestent de diplômes qui ne sont pas reconnus. Comment vont-ils travailler avec des diplômes qui ne sont pas reconnus? Déjà, j'ai eu affaire à un ami avec qui j'ai marché. On s'est entretenu, on marchait, on a fait plus de 3 ans. Un jour, il me dit qu'il a un livret maritime. J'ai dit, mais tiens, comment depuis des années, tu es avec moi, je ne t'ai jamais entendu dire, je vais en mer, ceci, comment as-tu... Est-ce que tu as les preuves de ce que tu dis? Il me dit, oui. Je dis, donc, amène-moi ton livret que je... Alors, quand il vient avec ce livret, qu'est-ce que je constate? Il y avait autant d'anomalies. Déjà, il n'y avait pas de cachet qui certifiait qu'il a déjà été en activité en mer. Le médecin n'avait jamais signé dans son livret, tout ça. Alors, il a un livret maritime et il se dit marin. Ça, ce n'est pas un marin. Il a juste obtenu ça comme ça et franchement, comment ils vont travailler dans le domaine maritime avec ce genre de... Comprenez.
Mais est-ce que ça n'est pas un problème véritable au Cameroun? Comment on fait pour avoir, je sais pas, des diplômes ou certificats qui sont reconnus et qui permettent aux gens de travailler aisément au Cameroun et ailleurs?
Dans ce point, nous constatons déjà de par tous les désordres qui vivent dans ce domaine, déjà en profite. Juste, je peux dire, nous connaissons notre pays. Tous nous sommes nous-mêmes, comme ceux qui sommes ici, pendant que nous nous battons pour pouvoir pallier tous ces problèmes. Il y en a d'autres qui sont toujours sur le terrain, alors que, par exemple, il y a eu des interdictions, mais actuellement, beaucoup ne respectent. Mais nous ne faisons que continuer notre combat qui consiste à assainir ce milieu. Bon, toutes ces organisations qui donnent ces attestations, franchement, le combat social voit le jour dans le but de mieux réglementer ce domaine. Si nous avons toutes ces chances devant nous pour pouvoir réglementer ce milieu, ça sera une chance pour notre pays.
Oui, mais qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Est-ce que ce n'est pas un danger que des gens, nous sommes dans un pays où les gens ne peuvent pas se former à quelque chose qu'ils veulent vraiment faire? Do we need all the time to get the country ready for this when we have persons who have been in the domain for so long? Why is it difficult for a school to exist in Cameroon that would readily prepare Cameroonians for the industry?
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Very good question. You are bringing me now to get into the main theme we have to talk about, the Maritime Administration.
Yes.
Our Maritime Administration, about 40 years ago, was an autonomous administration. Our Maritime Administration was an autonomous administration with the general manager and its assistant appointed by presidential decree. So it was a so powerful administration. But after some periods of good functioning, we saw the creation of 4 fishing companies in Cameroon: Crevet du Cameroon, Sipeg, Chalukam, many others. We saw the creation of Cameroon shipping lines. The shipping industry was booming in Cameroon. And the first director, once this administration was created in March 1962, was a French guy who handed over to a Cameroonian by the 69. By 1771, a Northwesterner in the name of John Waller was appointed general manager of that structure by presidential decree. And that is when this administration boomed up to the point of creating all this structure I just named. 4 parastatal fishing company and Cameroon shipping lines. So training, career profile, all this was secured. But after 1985, during the structural adjustment program, came a problem that some people, I say it, I assume, deceived our head of state, because most of the maritime companies in West Africa, Nigeria Shipping Line had closed down, Ghana Shipping Line has closed down, Société de Transport Maritime Ivoirien had closed down. Only Cameroon Shipping Line survived. And later on, with the pressure from this structural adjustment program from the IMF, World Bank, and the Bretton Woods institution, people deceived the head of state to allow for the privatization of Cameroon shipping lines. After this, there was a tussle among the maritime administrators themselves, the civil servants and the state contractors. That's why the maritime administration in Cameroon has never had a statute. And gradually, this problem led the government to subdue, to reduce the powers of this administration and put it as a sub-directorate of the Ministry of Transport. Now, all these problems you are raising, it is the role, the duty, the task, and the responsibility of.
Yeah, but you say. I think I see this in the document that the seafaring, the sector actually boomed from the 1960s to 1989. Where did they get the manpower to be able to handle this industry that was booming at the time, when the problem has to do with the training in Cameroon?
They got the manpower because at the time there were scholarships. That's one of the sectors today that since 1985, if I'm not mistaken, there's no more scholarship in the maritime field. But formally, there was scholarship. The state sent people, we have many of them, we don't need to call names, that were trained by the state.
Not in Cameroon?
Yes.
But
some went to France, some went to England, some went to Egypt, some went to Morocco, some went elsewhere. But once the administration took cognizance of what was happening, Mr. John Waller brought our government to understand the importance of creating. That's one of the big realization of that general manager. He is the one, and the late John Monikengo, Minister of Transport, who convinced heads of state of the whole West Africa that there is no need spending millions to train guys in Europe. We can create our own schools here. That's where the Ivorian Maritime Training Center became a maritime academy, and Ghana too. That of Ghana was even supposed to be created in Cameroon. But somebody gave a wrong impression to our former head of state. The Ghanaians took it.
Okay, the Ghanaians took it. My question to you, Mr. Eyong Henry, has to do with what are the difficulties that you guys are facing in the gas and oil industry in Cameroon today?
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Truly, there are difficulties and a lot of problems. The workers are even lamenting. You see, we have the Petroleum Code and we have the National Convention Agreement. These are documents that are being used to carry on the work smoothly. In fact, I appreciate the documents because they are well established. But you see, but they are not respected. Why? Because these workers are being handled by people who do not master the operation. These subcontractors are coming from among us and recruiting people as professionals when they are not trained. That is the problem. So when they go offshore, they do the job.
Offshore means in the sea?
They go to sea, they go to the platforms. We have drilling rigs, we have platforms that carry on most of this operation. We are talking now about drilling as an exploration operation. So when this exploration is going on, drilling is the main activities. So when they are going to work, they are trained there by experts who bring the machines, they bring those platforms. The platforms and then the rigs are not owned by Cameroonians. They are owned by foreign partners. And these are stakeholders who are working in synergy with the government. So we have the Article 77 and also Article 77 of the Petroleum Code and Article 20 of the Collective Convention, which talks about the transfer of manpower, the transfer of knowledge and transfer of know-how. So when the workers go offshore, when Cameroonians go offshore, they do what is called on-the-job training, OJT. So these workers go to work and they are trained on the job. And many of them have been working for many years. From roastabout, they climb to roughnecks, and then they climb to become assistant drillers. Some become crane operators, some become roughnecks, and some do other jobs like electricians are also being employed. That is how they do the studies, and that is how they grow in the company. This is in line with the article that we are talking about, the transfer of technology.
Yeah, but when you say the conditions are not too good, Mr. Ayong, what practically, what are the difficulties they are facing carrying out their job? Because it is also shocking to understand that those who are working in the oil and gas industry are not well taken care of, when we know that that is what runs many governments.
Actually, the difficulties that they are facing, they feel the pains because they go to the field and they are not treated well. Why are they not treated well? Their modalities of work is not stipulated in the collective agreement. You don't see their classifications in the collective agreement. So the collective agreement is a tool that we are using to carry on the operations in the national territory. And now, the people that are doing the recruitment do not master this job, and they don't have any knowledge about what is being done on the rig or on the platform. So now the same people who go there, and then the people are being regarded as workers, but they are not trained. So when they go offshore and they are being trained by these experts, it takes time for the experts now to bring out competent workers.
Yeah, but why should training take place there? Is there no school where these guys should be trained in Cameroon before they're taken?
We are going to come to that. There's no school actually, Mr. Leonard. There is no training school. You know, drilling is a process, and they are doing it practically in Cameroon, but the school is not there.
But drilling has been going on in Cameroon for decades now.
Right.
Why is there no school for it?
Well,
the government thinks that
we need to come out with a school, and that is the reason why we are here. So we want to beg the government to see into this problem so that institutions can be built or created. Okay, the problem I was trying to bring to you, Mr. Leonard, is that these workers that are going offshore, inside the collective agreement, or we call it collective, national collective agreement, does not specify drilling. If you look at the document, it is well established. You have production activities on the document. And you see the functions, and you see the categories, you see the echelon, all in the collective agreement. But when you look at drilling personnel, the drilling crew, or this drilling activity, it is not spelled out in the collective agreement. And so the local contractors or local companies that recruit these Cameroonians to send them to work offshore do not master the positions of the workers on the rig or on the platform. So you see that at the end they are lost and they have no backing, no document to clarify how they are being paid or how they are classified.
Okay, the Bipanda seafarers problem was an issue of wrongful certification not meeting up international standards. For instance, Cameroon being in the international blacklist, Cameroon not having ships to absorb these seafarers after graduating from more than 10 years. This had to provoke the strike you saw at Bipanda, which lasted for more than 3 years. These maritime schools are called mushroom schools because they are made just to extort monies from Cameroonians in conspiracy with some administrators. Okay, thank you for that clarification. I think the four is watching. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I did a maritime training program here in Douala in one training center known as CIMAP. And we were told that our diploma is awarded from Minifop. Please help ask the panel if Minifop recognizes any maritime school here in Douala. Thanks for such a panel. Can we answer him?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you once more, Mr. Leonard. It's a very good question. In order to promote professional different professions in Cameroon, the Ministry of Employment and Professional Training was created. But there is a problem when this ministry was created, because later on the minister realized that he was being induced in an error. Most of these mushroom schools, they always let him to sign this certificate. Where is the problem? I'm coming back to the question that you asked, because you need a solution. Cameroon is a member and a shareholder of the Regional Maritime University, which formerly was Regional Maritime Academy in Ghana.
Okay.
So, in 2004, I was in the Commission of Education. We put down strategies that could facilitate and enable instructors from Ghana to come and evaluate our own guys. What do you benefit? When you're a shareholder in a company or in a school, you have powers. But what we realized, coming back to the question you were asking, that lack of political will. Like now we are talking, our Minister of Transport is the president of the Board of Governors in the school right now. It is even out of pressure that we had the first instructor sent by the government to that school. Whereas we were supposed to have instructors there that protect the
interest of Cameroon.
The interest of Cameroon and our students going there. Basic training in Ghana, although we have advantage because we don't pay like students coming from non-member countries, but it's $1,500 for 3 weeks or 4 week course. How many families can provide that? And then you come back here. As I was talking about the maritime administration, the greatest illness we have is that our maritime administration is sick. That's why you heard my colleague there saying that we are in the blacklist, orange zone, which means investors cannot even come and employ Cameroonian seafarers because they are from a country which is in the blacklist. They are doubtful. Whereas, the reason one of the panelists has given there, for me, I will tell him that that's not the reason. There are countries with no vessels, but their seafarers are working. Because they are ministers. In Ivory Coast, we have Minister of Maritime Economy. In Ghana, when you look at the Ghanaian seafarers, they are the officers on Iranian vessels. You look at all the Iranian vessels, because the minister concerned had the interest. He went to the Iranian government and negotiated, as well as our own ministers. If they go, we have partners. They go for trade fairs outside. They are ship owners whose vessels come to run the line of our ports for 1, 2, 3 years. All these things are negotiations. Ivorian seafarers, they are working. Some of them, they work with Danish vessels. It's negotiation, if you have the goodwill. So, if we don't change our law, because we have the impression that in Cameroon, we mix up institutions and individual. Our problem is institution. our maritime administration, if it's not made autonomous, it will never be effective, efficient, and productive. That is why we need our head of state to order for the revision of the ordinance of 1962.
Ok. Therefore, has a question, vous allez répondre. Les dockers sont-ils de votre famille maritime et pourquoi sont-ils en grève très souvent?
Ils sont de notre famille, mais sont en grève très souvent parce que, franchement, ils n'ont pas de possibilité déjà de mieux s'organiser pour travailler de par les documents qu'ils ont en main. Vous voyez par exemple, tous ceux qui sont dans ce domaine ne maîtrisent pas effectivement dans quoi ils se sont engagés. Et pour cela, quand il y a des vrais professionnels sur le terrain, les amateurs doivent déjà se mettre hors de côté et puis ça cause problème. Donc,
qu'est-ce qui cause problème avec les dockers qui sont au Cameroun?
Les dockers qui sont au Cameroun, le véritable problème déjà, c'est que lorsqu'ils sont déjà dans ce secteur et que les nationaux sont déjà sur le point de mieux travailler, eux déjà, ils ne peuvent pas avoir la possibilité d'exercer directement comme
les professionnels. Ah, donc, ce que vous voulez dire que ceux qui grèvent souvent, ce sont des amateurs.
Des amateurs.
Ok. Mais il y a d'autres qui travaillent normalement.
Qui travaillent normalement. Mais ceux qui grèvent sont ceux qui ne maîtrisent pas exactement.
Ok, je vois.
Vous voyez par exemple, si nous rentrons même les récentes grèves qui ont eu lieu il y a quelques années au niveau de Pépanda, alors, s'il fallait compter tous les acteurs du secteur maritime, vous voyez que c'est une minorité qui ont grévé. La majorité, ceux qui sont formés, étaient en service, malgré toutes les difficultés qui se trouvent dans ce secteur.
Donc, ce n'est pas tous les dockers qui grèvent souvent?
Non, ce n'est pas tous les dockers.
Ok.
I wanted to add something.
Yes, go on.
Yeah, for the docker sector, as my colleague rightly said, there is an integration that has merged. Formerly, the dockers used to work under the Commercial Convention. And by the ILO conventions and the IMO conventions, dockers too have been integrated as gens de mer, as seafarers. Normally, it's just simply, as my colleague of the oil and gas was saying, that we don't respect our laws. Dockers normally are supposed to submit and obtain seaman card. Normally, they are supposed to be under the Ministry of Transport, not the Ministry of Commerce. Then, secondly, their difficulty is that they use them as temporary worker. Whereas if you go to Gabon, ports, Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Ghana, the dockers, they work permanently, whether the vessel come or not. He has his salary, his pension benefit is being saved, the family allowance, the training, the updates, as you are saying. I'll give you an example, Mr. Leonard. A docker, a professional docker, you consider a professional docker in Douala, if you take him and put him in the port of Abidjan or South Africa, he will be lost. Why? Because like in a container terminal, loading is being done by a computer. So you convey with me that if the docker is not computer literate, he will not be able. Even today in the maritime field, the seamen who work in the container vessels and other research vessels, they have difficulties. If you are not computer literate, you will not be able. Because when the container vessels arrive in the port, offloading and loading is done through computer. You must know which are the containers going here. How do you put it? You will not classify containers that will go down from the first port in the other way, because you waste time and money in the port. So you classify the containers the way, as you are going to the port, discharge is easy, and even if there are others to load, they load easily. So the difficulty of Cameroon dockers is that they are not, their conditions of work it's not decent.
Okay.
It's not good. And training is lacking.
And for Richard says, for Feline and Brother says, dockers have no status,
Yeah.
no contracts, no salaries. They are cheated. If they don't have salaries, how do they survive?
They work like temporary worker. When you finish, maybe after 1 week, they call you and they pay you. They just give you, you sign. No pay slip.
vos informations, divertissement et éducation. BT Media Group, building the future.
Every year in Cameroon, tons of agricultural produce end up as huge heaps of garbage, grown with deep love and devotion. These fruits, vegetables, and other crops litter our streets, while the farmers continue to struggle. Many have said that agricultural transformation is the best solution to this problem. And we say Phoenix Agri-Entrepreneurship Community Program, AGREC, is the best place to start. AGREC is the most innovative and only tuition-free program in the Republic of Cameroon that takes business students and makes them food and beverage entrepreneurs. Held each year under the auspices of the Minister of Higher Education, with institutional support from the Ministries of Agriculture and Rural Development and small and medium-sized enterprises, social economy and handicrafts, AGREC has become the reference in agricultural entrepreneurship in Cameroon. Are you a holder of the advanced level certificate? Are you passionate about project management or marketing, trade sales or accountancy, or logistics and transport management or international trade? Do you aspire to become a big name in the food and beverage sector? Then register for AGREC today. Call 675-102650 or visit www.funic.co. The future is bright. The future is Funic. Your future is AGREC.
Forging a successful career path begins from your foundation, a foundation of quality and professional education. It is a weapon of transformation and a passport to the future. HIPMAC's credibility and years of training thousands of professionals in HND, BTech, BSc, an MBA in the schools of Business and Management Sciences, Engineering and Education, with remarkable mentorship from the University of Bamenda for the BTech and MBE and the University of Boya for the BSc program is second to none. From committed professors and lecturers in classrooms to numerous academic field trips, internships and workshops, HIPMAC will reform and guide you towards your success. Admissions are now open in our Boya and Douala campuses. Join us. Together, we will build a legacy.
HIPMAC is all it is today because of its excellent and competent teachers.
Your training HIPMAC will be the perfect place to gain that professionalism that you need to further your educational career.
The Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, the University Institute for Professionals.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Hour on my Media Prime. We are sorry for that slight technical error faced out here at our headquarters in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital, precisely at Fengudon, where we are hosting seafarers in Cameroon to tell us the seafaring story, the challenges faced by the respective domains involved in this industry in Cameroon. And I will go to you, Mr. Ayong. I'll read what Cameroon oil and gas exploration workers concern and problems. I'll read a paragraph and you react to it. You see, all over the world, activities of oil and gas are the same, and the principles are standard everywhere. Now the question is, why is the case of Cameroon different? Cameroonians are not allowed to work in foreign lands without a work permit or work contract, while here in Cameroon, visitors come to work in and out without being checked or questioned. Is that the situation?
I told you earlier, Mr. Leonard, that the laws are not being respected. We have an order by the Prime Minister that was decree number 93371 of 13 July 1993. The Prime Minister of Cameroon mentioned in Article 2 of the order that except an expatriate staff is in possession of a contract visa or a work permit in harmony with Cameroon labor provisions or in accordance with Cameroon labor law, he or she is not permitted to hold a position of non-supervision. That is the same in other countries. So when you are a Cameroonian and you have to operate abroad, you need to have your work permit. Based on the national laws of where you are going or where you are going to work. At times, this we have our local recruitment agencies that recruit people without following this decree according to what the Prime Minister ordered in 1993. I quoted you the date. So here is not respected. Why? Because the recruiting agencies, they need their money, and that is all. They end there. They need a guide from the government or from the stakeholders to enable them do this work smoothly and correctly. But they are led by themselves, and so they carry on activities that they are not master.
Okay, they don't master. How are you sure? How do you authenticate the fact that those who are brought into work in Cameroon are not holders of a work permit, or that they do not meet the prescriptions as stipulated in the law, the 1993 Prime Ministerial Order?
Really, we have agencies for that. The stakeholders, let me say the oil companies, they make sure that the laws are respected.
Yes.
And before the companies come in with their experts, they notify the local authorities first, and the process is carried on by the company that is running the operations. And you know, when they come to the airport, they are being received by the local agencies. So if they reach at the airport, you see that they have problems or they don't have problems. It's based on what is arranged. So the agency makes sure that these people come in well and they go offshore well. But at the other end, there is no control. So most of these experts, when they come in, they don't even have the permit, and they don't even have any work visa. They are covered by their companies, and they work for a period of time and they go. And most of them don't come back for fear of the control.
Now, you say, you go further to say foreigners enter the country, go to work, while Cameroonians, instead of being trained, remain at home unemployed, and yet nothing is done. This is not normal according to the International Labour Organization. Why are people not being trained? Is it, like you said, that there is no school in Cameroon? And do you think that the government should step up to identify those who are interested in such trainings to take them abroad?
According to the collective convention, the collective agreement, Article 20 stipulates of a transfer of technology. So that is where we are based on. The transfer of technology is not done in schools, neither in universities. It's done on the job. So the companies or the operators, when they come in, they recruit the nationals and they are trained on the field. That is how Cameroonians study or do the job, and they grow there. Okay, we have another article. According to the Article 77 of the according to Article 77 of the Petroleum Code, the transfer of technology permits Cameroonians to work and study the job right up to managerial level. So if you are not, if the project is not too long, how can you become a manager? These projects are short contracts. Before you start learning a trade,
the contract is
finished, and we remain idle. And it takes again a lot of time for this operation.
What should be done to fix that aspect?
Well, Mr. Leonard, it based on the projects. If the projects are long, it's good, but the projects are always short.
Okay, Captain, you people think that there is need for the creation of schools that can, away from because the lone regional school that fits Cameroon now is the one that is based in Ghana. Yes. How do we get a school in Cameroon? And who would certify, give recognition to the certificates that are going to be issued in these schools in Cameroon that will permit Cameroonians to be able to work in internationally recognized vessels?
Okay, I'll highlight to what Mr. Eno just said, and Eno, what you're asking.
Yeah.
When you look at their oil and gas field, there's no career profile.
Okay.
And according to the Labour Convention, ILO, it's normal for somebody to work on the same place for 3-4 years. And it's because of institution. If you have strong institution, in Nigeria, Nigerians have a lot of petroleum engineers because when they went into the oil and gas venture, their laws were firm and stern. If we lay down strong institutions. Coming to the schools, I said it, we have the capacity and potential. The Spanish Kingdom recently helped Cameroon to acquire a nice international hydroelectric school in Limbe. That school could be used for renewal of STCW 2010 because it has all the necessity. The Minister of Higher Education and the Minister of Animal Breeding and Fisheries, they just need to go into protocols of accord with the Regional Maritime University, Abidjan, and other schools that will put their label and signature at the end of those courses. Like the school in Limbe, the first batch is already out, but they have difficulties.
Why?
Because their certificates were signed by the Minister of Higher Education and the Minister of Animal Breeding, Fisheries, Animal Industry. No international fishing company will take you because there is no label of a school recognized by IMO. And it goes back to what my panel said, my colleague said, that we are in the blacklist. If Cameroon, that's the aim and objective of this, our NGO, bringing the stakeholders of this country, let's work together to remove Cameroon out of the blacklist and the orange zone, because it will empower Cameroon to be able to renew certificates and even licenses for officer on spot. The cost will be, imagine, Mr. Leonard, I schooled in the Maritime Academy in America, and my license has expired. Imagine the cost, what I need to pay my flight back to America, spend maybe 3 months, 6 months, and come back. As I rightly told you, when the companies that we had, the fishing companies, Cameroon Shipping Line fell, it discouraged the government to give scholarship in that field. And coming back to what my colleague said, we are not in the white list. We cannot benefit even scholarship. If we get back into the white list, we'll be able to benefit the advantages, privileges, and of what other nations.
When you say Cameroon is in a blacklist, what do we mean by that?
It therefore means it's a maritime nation that's not up to date.
Okay.
In terms of norms, ethic, deontology, and philosophy of the industry. Ghana is in the white list. Ivory Coast is in the white list. Equatorial Guinea is in the white list. Gabon
is in the white list.
Yes. So are they more than us?
But practically, what is not right? When you say
because the administration concerned with the maritime field, they have a permanent follow-up to make sure, because the white list, once the auditors, who are IMO auditors, sometimes the US Coast Guard, they come and audit, they find out there is a mistake, they can remove you from the white list until you meet up back. So we even requested to our minister and our government to request for the service of an IMO auditor ILO auditor who come and sit down with us and said, okay, this one is good, this one is good, this one is good, this is where you are lacking. If you can cover up, meet up with this, you will integrate the white list.
Someone says, good evening, Mr. Liu. I did a maritime training. Okay, is the person who talked about CIMAP?
Yeah.
The school, you know the school?
Yeah.
The person says, Mr. Liu, please help us, the panel, if I can be integrated into some government maritime structures with my diploma from Minifop, Morgan.
Yes. Unfortunately for him, the official examination of the International Electric School in Limbe just passed on the 25th and 26th of September.
Yes, but can he do that next time?
He can do that the next time if he's still within the age range. Yes.
Which means, but he can work for Cameroon's government, but not. He may not be recognized internationally.
Yeah, he can work for the, people who leave the athletic school, they can work for the government, they can work for local structures, but international structures, no. But whereas the labor maritime market is international. Once you go through a good training, like in Ghana, you come here, whether you are officer or you are rating, you can sit here in Cameroon and apply anywhere. But I said, that blacklist issue disfavor us, Mr. Liu. Ship owners in this world will not like to employ a seaman or an officer who is coming from a country that is not up to date. He has doubts, and it has caused what? Imagine, Mr. Liu, the importance of seafarers' labor. Many seafarers today are taking a different nationality.
Okay. Captain Jimmy says Cameroon isn't credible before the Ghanaian Maritime University, where we are a member, because they haven't been up to their contribution. That's for many years. This has brought lots of problems to Cameroonians attending the school there. For the dockers, it's a structural problem. Most of them are recruited not out of competence. They are recruited through relatives working at the ports or perpetual recommendations, because they have always been treated as temporary workers with no status, and they are deprived from joining associations or syndicates which are credible, else they get fired. The only association or syndicates they can join are those created by those connected to some of the ports administrators having direct interest. Remember, the former coordinator was a total failure. Sisop is still very young and trying to right the wrongs of the last coordination by doing first things first. That is getting the national, international administration medias to know Sisop's objectives and goals, coupled with the facts of getting together all are very discouraged seafarers. Okay. Good evening, panel. I have, as a seafarer, I have been a seafarer for about 12 years with a local company based in Douala, with all the documents required from Regional Maritime Academy Ghana. I started sealing from 1995, but finally abandoned because our union was just working but to satisfy themselves from company owners. I traveled to so many countries, worked as a bosun, but only to discover ordinary seamen from other countries were earning twice of what I take home due to their powerful union, e.g. Congo, Brazzaville, and Equatorial Guinea. In Nigeria and Trinidad and Tobago, I was not even authorized to work in the country if not registered with their union. But in Cameroon, it was the contrary. Foreigners will be recruited first and no union to stop the act. You work, come home for vacation, stay for 1 year, chaff before going back. And all this is to make you suffer for all that time. Okay? The message is quite long. This one says, good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Albert Ntuba. Please kindly ask for me, Mr. Eno, what happened concerning the maritime training that took place during the period 2005. The recruitment of local maritime security agents that up till now none have we, especially that those that came from the Southwest have not gotten employment. Sorry, I'm writing from Kumba. Don't know whether anybody can answer him.
Yes, thank you. My panelists, my colleagues said it. There are people who sit up and organize their dark games backed by some administrator or some big guns of the system. When he talks of 2005, it comes to my mind. There was a trade union in Opus Central Voyage in Aqua. People were flooding there every day. Some sold their lands and properties just to go and buy a place there. And they were making them dream that they will get a job, they will be paid 1.5 million. They gave them mushroom trainings. And today, those leaders, some have died, some have run, and those who were going there, they paint a negative image of our professional milieu and even of our government, whereas they were wrong. If you want to do any training in the maritime field, the best place I will advise a parent to go is at the Ministry of Transport in Yaoundé. There is a directorate for that. When you get there, depending, you want to be an officer, you want to be a rating, you get the right orientation.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. Our program is really interesting, but I think Cameroon is a bilingual country that we should be able to express ourselves in both languages. Esther is writing from Kumba. Good evening to you, Esther. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I love your program. The offshore industry is very lucrative one, but in our country, it is the reverse. The training schools dotted all over the country can't secure any good job for those who go there because those schools are not in IMO white list. Once you obtain the STCW certificate, you should be able to secure a good job in other countries. The maritime administrations oversees the process and makes sure seafarers obtain the remuneration they are due with good working conditions. In Cameroon, any employer gets in and gives any meager salary to our seafarers who have spent much money to be trained. I challenge the Cameroon seafarers to get serious by having syndicates like it obtains in other countries. I think if this is done, and with the help of the government, seafarers can lobby better working conditions for themselves and will encourage other Cameroonians to join the profession. Fonge is writing from Muya. Good evening to you, Fonge. So they still goods to survive. Okay, you say dockers have no status contracts, no salaries, they still goods to survive. Okay, so bad. This one says, yeah, get in touch with someone who's around. Okay, sure, talking about something else. This one says, does it mean he knew he was going to? Okay, everybody's writing. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I enjoy the program. Keep it up, and please try to invite Minister Tanganji to come and talk about the phone tax. It's a legend, Basil, writing from Germany. Good evening to you, Basil. Mr. Liu, this particular training took a lot of monies from us, and because of it till now, we are still having problems with our sponsors. Okay, I'm sure you got an answer already. Quand on écoute tout ce qui se dit là, ça veut dire que la plupart des gens qui travaillent dans votre domaine au Cameroun ne sont pas des Camerounais.
C'est pas dire qu'ils ne sont pas des Camerounais. Oui. C'est la réglementation du secteur d'abord, dans un premier temps, qui fait problème. Franchement, vous allez voir à l'arrière des choses. Notre administration déjà ne comprend pas que c'est un secteur qui devrait beaucoup nous faire entrer beaucoup d'argent, mais la non-réglementation de certains dans ce domaine, ça nous fait énormément perdre. Vous comprenez? Déjà là, comment aujourd'hui nous pouvons même déjà accepter que les gens travaillent dans un domaine qui respecte encore aujourd'hui des décrets, les lois de depuis 62 qui jusqu'aujourd'hui ne sont pas révisés. Ça fait problème. Si tout ça était révisé, l'État devrait déjà avoir d'énormes revenus dans ce secteur et ça permettrait que le milieu déjà puisse être assaini, que des organisations qui forment des différents acteurs soient reconnus et que tous les diplômes soient reconnus par l'administration. Ça permet que tout le monde aura son compte dans ce domaine. Déjà avec tous ces désordres, c'est impossible. Or, nous aujourd'hui, comment ceci?
Qui crée le désordre?
Le désordre, si je rentre dans ce désordre par exemple,
Oui.
vous allez voir, je prends l'exemple, lorsque vous êtes dans un milieu auquel, ou dans une réunion, que les sanctions sont très, très minables. Une réunion où le retard est de 25 francs, vous allez rencontrer quelqu'un qui arrive en retard, on dit monsieur vous êtes en retard, il dit non, mettez en retard 5 fois, il sait que 25 francs fois 5, ça lui fait juste 125. Alors que si le retard était par exemple 1000 francs, hein, lorsqu'on va dire monsieur vous êtes en retard, on va dire excusez-moi, juste j'ai eu les embouteillages qui m'ont... Déjà, si on révisait tout cela, qui doit réviser? C'est l'administration en place.
Oui, mais tous ceux qui créent des écoles, soi-disant qui forment, est-ce qu'ils ne savent pas que ces milliers d'enfants qui sont formés n'auront pas de travail?
Ils savent bien. Si vous n'avez pas déjà l'autorisation de former, le diplôme que vous allez remettre à vos étudiants ne sera pas en valeur.
Mais est-ce que ces écoles ne sont pas reconnues par des ministères, soit vocational training, soit MINESUP? Est-ce qu'ils ne sont pas reconnus? Et s'ils sont reconnus, parce que les ministres signent.
Là, si je peux dire quelque chose, monsieur Leonard, je vais dire quelque chose à ce point. Quand vous voyez les critères de créer ces écoles maritimes, les critères donnés par le ministère de l'Emploi et de la Formation professionnelle, le 3/4 de ces écoles ne remplit pas. Parce que tous les critères qu'il faut pour permettre à ce que, quand un enfant sort avec le parchemin de là-bas, il a une place, n'est pas respecté. Je prends un simple exemple. Tout à l'heure, tu le disais là-dehors, avant qu'on entre en studio. Quand vous avez un centre de formation maritime qui ne respecte pas les programmes pédagogiques, vous allez prendre quelqu'un. Pourquoi moi je n'enseigne pas? Parce que la technologie, la réglementation a évolué. Si je ne me mets pas à jour, je ne peux pas aller prétendre entrer dans une salle de classe, enseigner ceux qui sont appelés à naviguer après cela.
So that's where the problem is.
C'est là où il y a des erreurs.
Okay.
Bon, parfois, vous voyez nos collègues de la Marine nationale, quelqu'un va prendre des enseignants là-bas. Mais je veux le préciser ici. La marine militaire et marchande, c'est deux mondes différents. Les marins marchands, ils sont permanemment en mer. Or, le marin militaire, peut-être pour les patrouilles ou peut-être pour une mission particulière.
Yeah, but
Donc, et pour que eux aussi, ils enseignent dans une académie.
the question I asked him is that we're talking about the disorder in your domain, and I was asking why we have many schools that are created knowing fully well that the children or the students that are the graduates are not going to be integrated into the job market, because to get recruitment in the marine sector, from our understanding, means that you must meet international standards.
Yes.
If you know that this year's school is going to provide certificates that will not match international standards, why do you train? And also, why do these ministries involve vocational training for some and maybe Ministry of Higher Education for others? Why do they authorize the running of these schools, knowing that students who are going to come out of these schools would end up not working?
That's why I said in the criteria, all is prescribed. But once they allow, since they want to promote professional education, once they allow somebody to open the school and he starts making money, he forgets about his engagement. Normally, from some of the schools, you can go negotiate a protocol of accord with the regional maritime university or any other school that will come here, evaluate your guys, and give them standard certificate. Secondly, we don't like to work in synergy. Imagine if all those promoters, they were agreeing, they don't agree. They could go beside the Minister of Employment and Professional Training, the Minister of Higher Education, and say, but no, Cameroon is a member, a shareholder of the Regional Maritime University. We don't see why we should be cracking our head for children to live here and go there. We can organize a system where these instructors, professors, they come here and evaluate the guys on the other member countries in the Regional Maritime Academy. They've been exploiting that. Then coming back to your question, he said something. Most of this was done by our administrators in the port and in the maritime administration who are on retirement, who are running some of these schools. I give you an example, Mr. Liu, that in 2004, we had the 34th Board of Governors of the Regional Maritime Academy by then, before it became university, in Saint Novotel Douala. I was in the Education Commission. These are resolutions we took, that we will put up a system where the people come from Ghana and they evaluate our boys here, and even the director who was in that school at that time, Captain Toxin, he lamented that, but Patrice, I expect to see Cameroonians coming to Ghana for the officers' course. I don't expect to see, and you see, he gave me the example, Mr. Liu. We have the regional school of firefighting in the whole West Africa, going towards the airport there. Senegalese, Malian people come and get their training there. So you people have all the potentials in the place, and you are a shareholder of the company of the school. Make use of your shares. And you heard my colleague Captain Jimmy saying something in the remarks and observation he sent. When you are in an institution, you are a shareholder, you don't contribute regularly, there is a problem. When we get at the diplomatic level, I will prove to you, and you'll be shocked, Mr. Liu, that a big maritime nation, which has just acquired another big port in Kribi, very soon in Limbe, Cameroon has no representative at the headquarters of the International Maritime Organization for the past 20 years. Even at the West African Maritime Organization of Central and West African States, we have no representative.
Hello, greetings to the panel. I am happy for this real development. Please, may I know why salaries in the maritime sector is not spelled out by decree classifications? Michael is writing from Douala here. Good evening to you, Michael. This one reads, Mr. Liu, this particular training took lots of money for some of us, okay? I'm sure they're still talking about the 2005 training. Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's Fabrice from Bamenda. I'm enjoying the program, and I'm begging for the Prime Minister to say something about the Anglophones, because we cannot stay safe. They keep on shooting and killing continues. Okay. We pray something is done. All of us, we are worried. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Thank you for making me know what seafaring is all about. Your program is very educative. Mafo is writing from Kumba. Thank you, Mafo. Good evening, Mr. Liu. This is Jonah Tata in Bamenda. I love your program. I hear more about maritime today. Please keep on opening the eyes and minds of many youths. Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone on the panel. It's a great program, but I wish to ask this question to Captain. What is the quality of the Cameroon maritime industry, and how does that benefit young Cameroonians who are interested in the domain? Good evening. I am Asongani George, marine engineer. We should talk of foreigners coming to work offshore in Cameroon while we have qualified personnel in Cameroon. Okay, greetings to you guys in the studio. Let Mr. Ayong explain to us very well the exploration and drilling stages, because it's rather unfortunate that Cameroon does not have the equipment to extract the crude oil and come out with the various petroleum products. When drilling is done, the sample is carried to the research center in Douala, which only extracts the water from there, and the rest is taken out of the country to determine the exact crude available. Gideon is writing from Bamenda. I don't know whether anybody can explain what Gideon is saying.
Yes, when I gathered some of the questions, like I'll start by the salary.
Okay.
In the maritime industry, there are two standard salaries. We have the ILO rate, International Labour Organization rates, and we have the International Transport Workers Federation's rate. But it boils down to what my colleague in the panel said that we are in the blacklist. We have another major problem, the ratification of conventions in the maritime field. Nations that have not ratified certain conventions, like the MLC 2006, Maritime Level Convention of 2006, that was amended in April 2018. We have been struggling since 5 years for our government to ratify it, but it has not yet been done. Because if we don't ratify it, you know, if you don't ratify a convention, you don't have the obligation to apply it. And even, I want to seize the opportunity to tell my fellow citizens that even when you ratify a convention, you apply it according to your realities. There are two standard grades of payment in the seafarer's career, just as in the oil and gas field. But as we rightly put it, I put it early, so long as our administration will not become autonomous to have that power, because for now it has been reduced to a skeleton.
Okay, it has been reduced to a skeleton.
Yeah.
What is your union? What is it doing to fix the problems, challenges that your members find themselves in? Qu'est-ce que vous faites pour les membres, pour, je sais pas, tourner leur situation?
Déjà, pour les multiples conflits, le COMOSASIC déjà prévoit déjà l'assainissement du milieu, dans un premier temps. Et en second, cherche à être un organe consultatif au niveau national, régional, sous-régional et international. Dans un troisième point, nous voulons valoriser le secteur maritime et nos objectifs majeurs déjà, c'est de faire sortir notre pays de la liste noire orange et être dans la liste blanche de l'OMI, ITF, ainsi de suite, pour pouvoir en bénéficier autant d'avantages à tous les niveaux. Déjà, aujourd'hui, nous prions même déjà toutes les organisations, toutes les sociétés, tous les acteurs maritimes qui n'ont pas encore intégré cette organisation de bien vouloir nous rejoindre pour qu'ensemble, nous formons une force qui va vraiment faire bénéficier notre pays dans tous les secteurs. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, dans tous les pays, le secteur maritime, c'est un secteur énormément riche. Et notre pays perd énormément dans ce domaine. Vous voyez, quand on parle même déjà des écoles, des centres de formation qui ne sont pas créés dans notre pays, si ce secteur était bien organisé et que l'État, voyant déjà le bénéfice qu'il a par an dans ce domaine, il fera bien de créer des écoles. Mais je ne peux pas me permettre déjà de mettre à créer des écoles sur un domaine où je ne vois pas tellement d'avantages, mais ça bénéficie à beaucoup d'administrateurs, à beaucoup de gens mieux placés de ce pays. Pourquoi? Si on demande aujourd'hui de mieux organiser, il faut beaucoup d'efforts. Parce que, franchement, c'est un secteur où il y a autant de méfaits et beaucoup tirent leur couverture plus de leur côté. Ils ne veulent pas. Or, aujourd'hui, le COMOSASIC, déjà, dans l'esprit de mieux organiser ce secteur, voudrait bien que, d'après la Convention 163 et les amendements, les recommandations 173, prie toute organisation de bien vouloir, que ce soit physique, une aide physique, morale, de bien vouloir nous soutenir pour cette lutte qui va vraiment nous aider à sortir notre pays de cette liste.
Okay, Mr. Young, is the government actually losing out tremendously from the situation as it is today in the oil and gas industry of the country, and how much is the government losing, and what are you proposing to be done now and in the short, middle, and long term to ensure that Cameroon takes full benefit of this industry?
Yeah, actually, we don't have the records.
Okay.
But we know that Cameroon loses a lot of millions because most of these companies, mostly that stakeholders that are working directly with the government, most of them are fictitious.
Okay.
And they don't make their movement or
their figures.
Their figures are not clear.
Mm-hmm.
You see, if you look at the newspapers, they hardly talk about oil. And since the government is not publishing all these informations, those who are working with the government also, they hide their documents. And things are not clear. So we know that Cameroon is losing a lot of money because most of these companies are not transparent.
They're not transparent.
Yes.
What do you want to do at your level now, with the short term, mid-term, and long term? What do you think the government should also do to benefit both those who are working in the sector and the government?
All what we need are that the project should come in, and it is the government to send a hand for them to come in and invest. But these investors are not coming because, like we said, Cameroon is on the blacklist.
Blacklist. Cameroon is on the blacklist, but do we have the qualified and ready potential should things turn around?
Why not?
Are you not also hoping that the government should create competent schools, internationally recognized schools?
We need investors. Mm-hmm. We need Cameroonians to invest in that field. Mm-hmm. We need Cameroonians to come up and say, hey, look, let's work together. Mm-hmm. Kamasisop also is extending right hand everywhere to anyone who is likely working in the field and who have that capacity to work with Kamasisop is always welcome.
Okay.
And that's the why we are here. And then we need Cameroonians to join us so that we grow together and make the oil field great.
Yeah, but you say that the government is not communicating enough when it comes to oil and gas in Cameroon. Is it that not also a failure on your part for not communicating? Because I'm sure if we did not open our doors to you today, many persons will not even know what you are doing. What I'm saying is that you, at your level, you also need to communicate more now.
That is the reason why we have to extend our hands to Media Prime to help us. Mm-hmm. And also we need Cameroonians that will also publish more about us. Mm-hmm. That we need Cameroonians to join us, and we need to work together. And we need professionals to come into Kamasisop. And then, like we are saying about other countries, we look at the trade unions. The Cameroonians are not organized like in other countries. If you call Cameroonians to come to work, they come very well, but they don't respect the conditions of the union. If we start respecting the conditions of the union, and we love the union, and we want to be united, there are still no reason why we should be complaining, because the union will be prepared to help. And also, the union will have that capacity to meet the government so that the government can also look at the areas where something can be done.
Where something can be done. Okay. Captain Young Patrice Lumumba, you talked a lot about autonomy. Yes. In the management of the sector. Yes. When you say autonomy, are you not autonomous? And I read somewhere that you guys are also wishing for the creation of a separate ministry to handle maritime issues. Is that possible?
At that level, I will say there is a structural problem with the Maritime Administration.
Okay.
It has to be remedied. And I will give you highlights on that. In 1998, by presidential decree, the President of the Republic created autonomous port. The fatal error again, people deceive him to do, in the board of directors of the various ports, you realize that the Maritime Administration, who is the master, the judicial master, in case of any litigious problem within the ports and at the sea, is not a member of that board of directors. Even when the board of directors of the port sits, The minister comes there as an observer. Today, the protocol of the state, the director of ports sits before the director of the maritime affairs, whereas it should have been contrary. It's not because ports have been autonomized that the maritime administration should lose its role, task, duty, and responsibility. Our struggle is Cameroon Maritime Civil Society Board. We are calling on the stakeholders to mutualize our energy to bring correction. Because if we don't correct this structural problem, you convey with me that an administration that is sick will not bring solutions to its subject, except its own problem it's resolved. Then you talk about the ministry. In 2008, July 17, 2008, the head of state created 3 big structures. The National Committee for Safety and Security in Ports, the National Committee for Safety and Security at Sea, and in its Article 17, it ended with the creation of the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Ports, which has never come to life. Because actors of our sector, I want to be honest with myself, actors, professional, retired administrator of the maritime field who have that opportunity to get to the higher level, intoxicated the head of state, not to hurry to put such a structure in place. Then I will tell you, Mr. Liu, the maritime administration at this juncture is one of the administrations that can boost the national fiscal basket of this country more than even the customs. Okay. You talked of figure. 7 years ago, we did a study with my boss, Captain Jimmy, who just sent you an SMS, showing how in the fishing field, we lost 2 billion every year. In the petroleum field, we say, Young did not want to give number, more than 50. Not to talk international navigation. What do I mean? Mr. Liu, you have 100 Cameroonians who are working out of Cameroon. When they sign their contracts, all their bank accounts are in our local bank. Since our salaries are being paid in dollars and euros, can you imagine the dividend the treasurer will have when their salaries in euro or dollar are sent directly to the local our bank? That's how Ghana, Ivory Coast, Senegal, I don't like to take comparison with Europe and Asia. You go to Asia, you see Philippines, India, Indonesia. When you are a seaman, you are given red carpet, because they will tell you that our economy has been changed by the labor force of these people. Today, Europeans, they are not interested in going to sea. When they buy their vessel, they go to Asia and look for labor hand. And some of them have advised us, but Patrice, why you in Africa? You don't postulate. Your minister don't come to us, because the cost of engaging a Filipino will cost me, just his air ticket to and fro is more than somebody who comes from Africa. So we are calling on our head of state. It is urgent and imperative for the revision, as my colleague said, of the Ordinance of 1962. This will also lead to the revision of the National Merchant Navy Code of Cameroon, where in Article 115, Mr. Liu, it is clearly stated all vessels in Cameroon registered under Cameroon flag should take 75% of Cameroonian. But if you go on the field, you will see that all those vessels registered under Cameroon flag, they are but foreigners who are there. Then adding to the oil and gas sector, in 1998, SNH, whom with Captain Jimmy, we had the opportunity in 2016 to meet the État Major for a meeting, organized a big symposium in 1998 where they were saying they want to Cameroonize. They want all our petroleum field to be dominantly Cameroonians. Yeah. I will ask them today, 22 years after, where have those resolutions gone to? It therefore means if the Europeans, the colonial masters, say we are leaving today, all our petroleum field will go bad, because no nationals. So to end with, Mr. Liu, a nation is institution. You go to Equatorial Guinea, to Congo Brazzaville, to Gabon, countries that do not have the capacity, the potential of Cameroon in terms of, in all aspects, but they have strong institutions. You get there, they tell you yes. When you say, you the investor, you come and you say, vous n'avez pas de professionnels, they'll tell you, on n'a pas de professionnels, ben voilà les jeunes, vous les formez.
Okay.
On vous oblige de les former parce que quand vous allez partir, ça serait notre gain.
Okay, you're going to realize that all ministries concerned are involved except a seafarers representative like CISOP involved. That's exactly where the game of poor salaries comes in, coupled with poor working conditions. SNH is a problem when it comes to gas and oil in Cameroon. Please, Mr. Liu, get to invite all those who are involved in this sector. That is SNH, Ministry of Transport, Mines, Employment, Fishing, etc., to answer these questions before Cameroonians, because there is a conflict of interest in maritime activities at the detriment of seafarers. Okay, good evening. This one says, I am watching. Thank you very much. This one says, we need that the government involve CISOP in ship and rigs inspection. Okay. Question to Captain Paddy: how much of an impact does ship funnels that produces black smoke or soot affect climate change in the maritime industry? Bruce is writing from Germany.
Yes, that's a problem, since we are trying to protect the ozone from climatic degradation. And you realize that in Cameroon already, in most of our region, we are already facing it. We need to train and to reinforce our state agents, specialists who are in the Ministry of Environment. That ministry has a lot of work to do, in terms of that struggle. And from his question, we need specialists in the maritime field for the checks. Like in Europe, the maritime, the MAPOL service don't come on board. They just come with their boats, they are loitering around. Anything they see in the sea, they are able just to come and prove to you that this is coming from your vessel. And they give you the fine. So once more again, we have the advantage and opportunity to prepare and avoid this that expression en français, la production de gaz effet de serre. We still have the advantage to protect our country, our environment from those things, if only we take conscience and we train people for that purpose. And that training should not be limited. We should be able to sensitize our citizens. Many Cameroonians don't know how to use a firefighting extinctor. Fire may acquire, there's an extinctor here, he will not know how to use it. There are things that we must try and make our citizens to know these things, because it will help you not only in the professional milieu, not only in the case of catastrophe, but also in your family.
Also in your family. Now, what we are almost out of time. Qu'est-ce que vous attendiez maintenant du gouvernement pour que vos objectifs soient atteints?
Oui, nous attendons du gouvernement la mise sur pied de tous nos processus. Nous avons déposé des documents au niveau du ministère. Or, avec tout ce que nous avons pu inscrire dans ces documents, nous attendons juste la validation et nous allons leur démontrer que tout ce qui est inscrit dans ces documents, nous sommes à mesure de mettre tout cela sur pied et que les bénéfices, le Cameroun verra plus les caisses de l'État dans le secteur maritime évoluer à plus de 80% aujourd'hui. Et je ne manquerai de vous signaler ici que le Comososic, vu l'état, la situation sécuritaire même du pays aujourd'hui, a mis sur pied un département de renseignements généraux dans le but, puisque étant marin, dans d'autres pays aujourd'hui, chaque marin est un agent de renseignement. Pourquoi pas chez nous? Le Koum est en train de travailler pour mettre tout cela sur pied, que chaque marin, à tout niveau où il soit, terrestre, dans le domaine secteur terrestre que maritime, partout où il est un agent secret, un agent de renseignement. Aujourd'hui, si nous constatons que la plupart des gens qui veulent peut-être déstabiliser notre pays passent par des zones côtières, tout cela, le Koum entend combattre, entend soutenir l'État camerounais. Et pour qu'il réalise cela, qu'est-ce qu'il faut? Il faut que l'État aussi nous tende la main. Nous tendre la main, c'est quoi? C'est dire oui, allons, faisons ensemble, vous avez le droit de le faire. Et nous allons démontrer toutes nos forces pour soutenir l'État camerounais.
Okay. Leonard, I appreciate you for your being so bilingual. Let others learn from you. When I talk of others, I mean francophones. Emmanuel, writing from Bamenda, this one says, good evening. Mr. Liu, kudos for this initiative. Cameroon government is building seaports, whereas we don't have a single ship. What do you expect government to do in your domain so that we can get reap full benefits? And what do you expect from the seafarers themselves? But above all, what is the advice you're telling Cameroonian parents who think that their children should venture into this industry?
Well, we need to come out from the blacklist. All Cameroonians are hammering for that. And we see that Kamasisob is ready to work with every Cameroonian of good faith. So when Cameroonians themselves invest in their own country, in this sector, in the maritime activities and in the section of oil and gas, all of us will grow together. And then it will help us to also turn around and then take care of our families. So we are asking Cameroonians to join us so that we work together with the government to make Cameroon forward.
Okay, but what about the parents? The parents who was...
The only problem that the parents have are that there is a lot of unemployment. And so we at Kamasisob, we want to create employment. And we need the government to join us so that we work together. We are sure to do the job, and we are going to put Cameroon in a good position. Okay,
Captain Patrice Lumumba, if you have a child today who says, Daddy, I want to work in the maritime industry in Cameroon, what would you do to that child? You send them to one of the schools around?
The first thing is, if I have a child, my first son is doing master's, but I wanted him to be in, he said, no, Daddy, I don't want to see. If I have a child, a nephew, or a grandson who wants to take over my profession, I will send him to the best school. That's what I can do. To the best school. I will not send him to a mushroom school. If I have enough means, I can send him to South Africa, I can send him to Egypt, I can send him to Morocco, I can send him to Ghana. Are you telling
parents in Cameroon that, okay, you don't send your children to any school in Cameroon because none exist? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Because I've seen parents spending millions here, and after they realize themselves, they still send the child back to Ghana. For those who have the money. But for those who borrowed money, and it got finished, and the child cannot, because the hope is that when he starts working, he will balance the money. And moreover, they've said all. Cameroon Maritime Civil Society Board is calling upon the government for that permanent synergy.
Okay.
Yes. And the respect for experts and consultants. One of our problems is that we embark in things disassociating the real actors of that field. And at the end result, it brings problem. So they should learn to give priority to our nationals. This is the COVID area. Our minister himself, since he's in power, he has never received seafarers.
Have you made efforts?
Yes. We have all the proofs. We have more than 4 requests of audience. That was to enable him to touch and to know the reality. If you talk with people and you don't meet the actors, an administrator will not talk on behalf of the actor. So, That's the problem. And sometimes when you now, the movement now gets angry and they write to the Prime Minister or to the President, they quote the file to them, they will say, you people reported me to my boss. But whereas they are there, we have been initiating many good things, but they return the response. So we are telling them that.
How can you help the government in this domain so that it gets back to its glory days of the 1960s up to 1989 when things went bad?
Thank you, Mr. Leo. That's why my colleagues have already said Cameroon Maritime Civil Society Board is a national consultative body with experts in all the navigation domain, oil and gas. If the government gives us room to sit and reflect together, we are sure that new fishing companies will originate. Look at the school in Limbe. And I take advantage to say this to Mr. Liu. Maritime schools are capital intensive. The school in Limbe, if we don't create a national fishing company, that school at a given time will die down. But whereas if we have a national fishing company, it will continue. It's very, very important.
Okay, very important. Hello, sir. My name is Joel from Limbe. I like this your program. It's really educating me. God bless you. God bless you too. Joel, we unfortunately will have to end at this juncture. And I want to say thank you to you, Captain Patrice Young Lumumba, for coming.
We are the ones thanking your CEO, yourself, for having made it possible. We will be here anytime you need us, for us to keep on exchanging. And we hope that what we have exchanged this evening have not gone into deaf ears. Our parliamentarians, our senators, our ministers, and stakeholders. There are young Cameroonians who are inspired. Some of them are already buying ships. So we need to promote them.
Okay.
We need to promote them.
Okay. And also to you, Mr. Ayong Henry Nuntai, we are glad to have had you here for the first time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. We also appreciate Media Prime, and then we are ready anytime if you need us.
Okay, and also to you, officier de Jutta Jean Rigaud, merci d'être venu.
C'est moi qui vous remercie déjà, c'est un honneur pour nous de nous inviter pour pouvoir mieux faire connaître qu'est-ce que c'est que le Camosi-Sof. Et déjà, je pourrais encore mentionner un petit truc que j'ai oublié. Déjà, dans les attentes, puisque le Cameroun, comme d'autres pays, pourrait aussi faire un fichier numérique pour tous les marins, auquel on pourra informatiser toutes les cartes. Cela va permettre que ceux qui ont les documents qui ne sont pas valables, de se voir écartés du domaine. Franchement, que chaque marin qui est professionnel puisse être identifié, avoir une carte informatisée dans ce fichier, ça résoudra beaucoup de problèmes dans notre secteur. Franchement, je vous remercie déjà.
Okay, we want to thank the production team, to you, Eli, and to you, Desmond, Paul, and the rest of those working at the broadcasting. We also want to thank you all who took time off to watch the program, and especially those who sent text messages. Not forgetting you guys watching us from Nyasoso, and to you, Ernest, stay blessed. Bye-bye.